Hey, welcome to the Hired AV Podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host, and we have a good one for you today. We're in part 4 of the 5-part series. Part 4 of a 5-part series of HETMA Turns 5. 5 years ago, BC and I had this crazy idea of this organization, and we really didn't know what it all meant. As you probably heard the last 3 episodes, obviously BC and I reminiscing, and then the announcement that came with Chris Netto and Mark Coxon. And then last episode was our birthday party, and now with our board and chairs. And now today we're doing a little sponsor one, and sponsor big. Now let me phrase it. This is not a sponsored episode. The theme is talking about our sponsors and our partners, because one of the things, and we're gonna start with a great first guest, which is a very appropriate guest to have, because going, for those who don't know, let's pretend you haven't heard me say this 50 times. Is, when BC and I had this idea of the organization, it came out of a trip to Japan with Panasonic. And now, because when we were there, what we noticed was, all right, so again, I've said this before, we're going to take a bunch of customers, we're going to take them out to Japan, and we're going to, we'll do some whining and dining, and we'll go tour some things. And then hopefully they come back and buy a bunch of projectors, right? I mean, it's the dog and pony show, which is what we expected it to be. And you know what? That's all right. But it actually wasn't that. It was much more than just going out and experiencing the culture and experiencing Japan. We got the opportunity to go to the manufacturing plant, the headquarters, talk with top level executives, engineers, and they gave us product and basically said, to us, hey, we would love your opinion on this. Just, be 100% be honest. And I remember BC and I kind of looked at each other and go, it kind of sounds like a challenge, and you thought, well, maybe you really got to be nice. I mean, they're bringing us out here. When we got to be nice. No, we weren't nice. We were brutal. We're pretty sure there was an engineer that was taken out back and shot. But here's the thing. We were so honest about what we saw, because we actually cared. We thought, what, we do have an opportunity to give true feedback. And then the best part of it is 3 months later, I'm thinking about the microphone. We get a call, and it's like, hey, by the way, we're coming out from Japan. We made those changes you said, and we want you to take a look. And I was like, wait, what? You actually listened to us? You actually made those and adopted them, and then you're going to bring it out to us to see if this is what we meant? No manufacturer had ever done that to us before. And that's where the idea of HETMA started. And we went, wait a minute. What if we could take that and make it macro and build those relationships and those one-on-ones with our manufacturer partners? So that's kind of the background. And so we're going to start today with Mr. Darryl Krall, who, is also, one of our hired Hall of Famers here. They a legend in the higher ed vertical, and who was there on the first trip. So Darryl, please, pretend people don't know who you are. Introduce yourself. Tell people what you do.
Well, thanks, Joe, and the entire HETMA team for having us on. This is a great opportunity for us to continue to promote HETMA. I think it's a great organization. But yes, I'm Darryl Krall. I'm with Panasonic Connect, lead our visual system side for higher education. I've been involved with higher education for, almost 20 plus years. But Panasonic has been a great company to listen to the voice of customer, and you're absolutely right. I think that was such a great trip in 2018 for a lot of reasons. Not only those who attended, I mean, the group dynamics were phenomenal, but that was the first year that we actually, everyone, I think, met in LAX, right, and flew over together. Because in previous trips, we've had people coming out from the Northeast and Northwest, and they were all kind of coming independently. And this was the first time, which I think was brilliant. You guys get to meet, know each other, get to learn who was who and so forth. And so as soon as you guys hit the ground in Japan, I think there There was a great dynamic. It was a very conversational group. We had a lot of fun, but literally talking to the engineers and going to the manufacturing plants. And I'm actually looking for that video clip of "It Is Fine Today." I know I have it, but it's one of those things where absolutely, for those of you who've been in the AV business for a long time, might remember a company called Ramza Audio mixers and speakers and all that. Well, that was Panasonic brand. And in Japan and other markets, Panasonic had audio product. But around that 2017, 2018 timeframe, we were introducing into the US market specific audio product for those types of applications. And so, yeah, first go around wasn't ideal. 3 months later, they came back and listened to what you guys were talking about and had significant improvements. And then I remember it was a CCUMC conference at that time. So that was 2019. I think it was in Utah. And we had like 6 or 8 engineers listening to customers, showing them that next gen of product. And then literally about 6 months later, we brought that product to the US. And it's been very successful ever since.
Yeah. And so talk a little bit about that. Like, I mean, it's obviously, you all put, for lack of better words, money where your mouth is and really getting in with the customer. How does that start? Because, we also think back in those days, and, you've probably heard all of us talk about this, where we would show up at Infocom and no one cared about the customer. Like, it was like if you'd look at our badge and they would, as soon as they would see the little education strip, they would turn around and walk right past us, and now that's completely different. And Panasonic is one of the companies that said, no, there's going to be a different dynamic. So talk about that and kind of either, what was the history with that, or, just why? What's the bigger picture of the company as to why that was important?
Big focus. In fact, when I was hired at Panasonic in 2010, so 14 years ago, I was hired as an area sales manager specifically for higher education. So we had a vertical team that did nothing but call on higher education. And we still have a team that calls on higher education. They're doing a few other verticals as well. But literally from day one with Panasonic, and that's one of the reasons why I came back to a Japanese company, the fact that they want to listen to what the customer has to say. I think truly, and I know, Joe, you'll agree with this, the higher education vertical market is without question the best vertical to be in. I think there's a great camaraderie and great collaboration. There's similar but different challenges depending upon your institution. And so it's really been great. So having that focus on higher education. As you know, we bring a lot of engineers to the US on a regular basis. And first thing they want to do is meet with higher education customers to listen to what they have to say, to listen to some of their pain points and what keeps them up at night. So one of the great things that I enjoy about Panasonic is that the fact that, yes, we do listen, we write down, the engineers come back. Another great example is, and still from that trip of 2018, was a lot of you were asking for an ultra short throw projector at that 5,000 lumen laser projector. And a few years later, we came out with our new CMZ 50, which is a 5,200 lumen ultra short throw projector. And so small footprint, people want to have it up close to the screen, and so people can see it, large displays and things like that. So yeah, seeing it go from the customer talking about it to actually coming to product and to market is a great experience to be involved with, and I love it.
Yeah. So just curious here, is there something, and obviously, we're not the only vertical market that you all care about. You have tons, but is there something inherently different about the higher education group? Because we're also kind of sitting this weird thing that we're also kind of our in-house integrator. We do things at scale. We're a little, as opposed to, we're the car dealership down the way that just says, hey, I need 3 training rooms and 4 conference rooms. Exactly. Like, is there something inherently different about partnering with us to get that type of feedback?
The fact that you hit all the right spots. It's like you're speccing a project. You have to go to procurement. There's so many steps along the way in the sales cycle. You might be doing installation, or in different applications, you might be using a systems integrator. So it's a very diverse and often complex process to say, I have this challenge. I have to get through these steps to make sure that you're ready for classes in August, that type of thing. And the other thing that I think is unique to higher ed is the fact that now, with HETMA, we can go to one place. It's very centralized. We do a lot of house of worship shows. We do some corporate shows, rental and staging's another large vertical for us as well. It's not disjointed, but they're not all concentrated in one place. And that wasn't the case, as you know, in 2017. There's certainly organizations like ETC and others, or even this week with NW Met, there's a lot of great regional shows. But now having the ability to kind of touch a lot of end users with getting their feedback in one location, like HETMA or other associations, makes a big difference, because then we can kind of look at a lot of data, and we hear a lot of similar challenges, but there's also the kind of diversion. Okay, AV over IP, or I need to do everything with USB-C, and all those little nuances, because the technology has changed so dramatically. It's it's a combination of AV and IT and unified communications. It's like, it's not just here's a projector and here's a display and here's a camera, have a nice day. It's really part of our connected classroom initiative that started, I'd say, almost going back to 2018 with you guys. It's like, look, we buy cameras, we buy audio, we buy displays and projectors. How do we integrate this all? And Panasonic makes all those pieces to the puzzle. Like, one of the greatest examples of continued conversations is our PTZ cameras, and utilizing our Pro Audio product that has built-in voice triggered presets. So your PTZ camera is, multiple presets based upon the audio, Panasonic audio products that you're using. So it's very cool. It's able to kind of minimize some of the complexity to a lot of these systems that you guys are installing. So just listening to the customer and trying to make that integration as easy as possible.
Yeah. No, I love that, because you're right. We are so integrated. We all have, especially the new, I mean, I think post-pandemic, I mean, it was happening before, but I really think, obviously, post-pandemic, the idea of, cameras, microphones, everything has to be there. You all have the entire line. And I guess we are turning this into a Panasonic commercial. Why not? Here we go. No, you do. And I think that really positioned you all well, because you could come with the multiple solutions, once we kind of went to that. But I want to move from that to say, one of the things we talk about as in HETMA and kind of generally, as we say, we might be different sizes, my behemoth of UCLA, right? And especially now where I sit, where I have everything under me, from live events to classrooms to all of this stuff, to other smaller schools. And we all say, well, we all have, kind of the same challenges, maybe just different scale. But is there a difference between what one of the smaller schools, okay, from your point of view? And I'm not saying that one customer is better, whatever, but is there something different that smaller schools, and where you have to target your focus versus maybe the behemoths?
I think it's kind of the challenges are the same. Okay, you have X number of classrooms, you have X number of student population. And when a classroom isn't working, that's costing the institution money, right? And dissatisfaction. So if you're trying to hit that point where you want your students to learn, novel idea, and to have the reliability, and you scale that, you go from maybe 100 rooms to 300 plus rooms, just having that ability to manage some of those medium-sized, smaller systems. Their needs are the same, but maybe their budgets aren't the same. But fundamentally, we're basically saying, look, we can hit all of those different types of applications. So whether you're a school of 15,000 students or 150,000 students, we have the ability to kind of cater to budget requirements, staff. Obviously, usually the bigger the school, the more the staff. Sometimes you've got some institutions where they've got 2 or 3 people who are trying to manage, 100 plus rooms. And that's always a challenge. So remote monitoring and things like that, where it's very difficult, I think, for some of the smaller schools to keep that level of expectation for students and the marketplace, right? They're like, oh, I'd like to go to, UCLA because they got all these cool tools, not to mention the weather's nice all the time. But,
except this weekend, it's going to be horrible.
Well, it happens. It happens sometimes. But that's really one of the areas where we're trying to continue to improve on having a bigger footprint, no matter what the size of the institution. So it's been a very exciting time for all of us, even, as we look into the future, some of the new technologies that we're coming out with, and, NAB's coming up, Infocom we'll have our technology suite as we normally have. So there's a lot of things on the horizon that is just going to continue. And I think that's the other thing that's unique about higher education, is that I think they all are always trying to find better ways to do things. I'm not saying that corporate or house of worship or other verticals don't, but I think sometimes in some verticals, they're like, well, this is how we do it, and we're not going to change. There's no reason to change because it works. Whereas I think education is always trying to improve and do things better, do things more efficiently and more cost effective. So it's always exciting.
Yeah, you made me start thinking, this is good. I should have you on more.
I know. I say that all the time. He doesn't call me anymore.
So because you actually, and maybe I'm going out of the wheelhouse, but I'm curious. So, if we look at the reports from Gartner, from Deloitte, and from EY, we know that we're calling the higher ed cliff that's going to be coming, right? Mm-hmm. We know that enrollment is going to drop because, well, I mean, people aren't having kids as early anymore. They're not having as many kids. We know that all of it in about 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a consolidation. Sadly, there's going to be a lot of smaller schools that aren't going to make it, right? I mean, at case in point, we just bought Marymount University, South Bay campus. So because after post-pandemic, with the changing landscape, they couldn't make it. So we ended up buying it. Now we have another campus. So there's going to be a consolidation, whether people like it or not. There's going to be an enrollment drop, whether people like it or not. And so I think what we're seeing at our boss level, at our C-suite levels, is trying to position ourselves to be able to survive that, right? There are schools, the R1s are not going to struggle, right? But it's the next tier, the smaller schools, those who have been, kind of traditionally very, very dependent upon the tuition and very dependent upon specialized, disciplines to be able to survive. But we know that's going to become tougher. What do you hear when you talk to executives? What are they saying? And how are you all positioning yourselves as kind of manufacturer partners to help those schools make it through the quote unquote enrollment cliff that we know will be coming in the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. It's the demographics in the U.S. have changed dramatically. If we're targeting right now Generation Alpha, they're significantly less than Gen X and millennials and so forth. But I think that the good news is that a lot of institutions are looking at the horizon. What is the best way? I mean, we see it, read it in the trades all the time about different institutions that have closed or changed. One of the highlights, I think, will continue to be continued adult higher education, or, improving skills. So I think there's always going to be a marketplace for education, no matter what, age bracket. So maybe if institutions aren't targeting 18 to, 22-year-olds, then maybe it's that 30 something or 40 something. They need to, reskill themselves and learn about AI or whatever the new technology is, right? So that's one of the things where we're in conversation, is like the flexibility of whatever technology you're using can shift to who is the demographics that you're targeting and who are the students in the classroom, because maybe adult students will want to have more, asynchronous type of learning and type educational experiences. So that's some of the things that we're talking about with, executives and provosts and presidents of institutions. It's certainly one of those things where we know it's always going to continue to change. It's good that we're talking about it now, so it's not, 2026 or 27, like, oh, we weren't expecting that. I think that that's another great attribute to education, is that they look at demographics and they look at kind of what some of the trends that are happening and try and, future-proof some of the things that they're doing. But you're absolutely right. You'll see a little bit more of a consolidation, I believe, in some of the smaller schools that maybe they had a very narrow area of expertise. And now it needs to be a little bit more broad and maybe more technologically focused to just open up. And I think, like I said, the lifelong learning aspect of things will certainly keep the fire fueled. But that's one of those things you have to always make sure that you're keeping your eye on the horizon, because things will continue to change here in the next couple of years.
100% agree. 100% agree. And you're right. That is a target, is to be able to move with that demographic, right? And that will be, I agree, that'll be the secret that a lot of schools will have to do and adapt. So it'll be a very interesting landscape that we have, and we see it change over the next few years, which is where I'm excited about, like HETMA, to see how we can help those schools. If we look at when this was founded, I was at Cal Baptist at the time, so I was kind of actually at a smaller school back then, when we first founded the organization. And we look at, turning over our new vice chair, Ryan Gray was, at a community college, and we're seeing how we can now impact the schools that are going to have. And I think community college is the ones that are going to succeed, because they're the ones that most adept into their community, right? Yes. And actually able to work much more closer and tighter with that demographic that surrounds them immediately. So I think they're poised well, and trade schools are poised well. It's kind of the smaller, the smaller 4-year universities that have the very high tuitions for right. But I think they're the ones that are going to have the hardest time. But now let's move now to the theme of this is our partners. So talk a little bit about like our partner organizations. Obviously, we have tons of we have HETMA, which obviously is the theme of this. We turning 5 years old, but we do have you have ETC. Midwest AV Summit, you've got NW Met, we've got a lot of other like just kind of smaller groups. You take even going international with SCOMS, LTSMG, ATEM, right? There's so many kind of higher ed niches and groups, and I'll call it communities of practice, that are kind of focused on something. So talk about, as a manufacturer, why it's important for you to partner with organizations like that.
I definitely think one of the attributes of having these relationships is that typically, if you're in higher education, you pretty much stay in this space for a very long time. If you looked at other verticals, it's like, okay, you might have a great relationship with a corporation, and that group or that team goes, somewhere else, and maybe not in the industry anymore. But what I've found, I mean, it's one of my favorite stories, is as we're trying to get younger individuals into the AV business, right? How do we do that? You think about, how many of the people that we know at HETMA and other associations where they might have started as a student intern or something like that, right? Getting paid, didn't know what the AV business was all about, and all of a sudden, 25 years later, they're running the organization at that institution. So that's one of the things where I see value in all the different associations. Having a focused effort and say, yeah, we know Panasonic. Do we know the right person to call at Panasonic? Sure. It's, having that more intimate knowledge of those markets, those associations, and who to talk to. Because like I said, they're typically staying in those institutions or in a similar type of institution for a long time. So we build really lifelong relationships and friendships with a lot of the people that we work with over the years. And I think that's another great attribute of education in general, is that it's just a great community. People are just wonderful to work with. And, it's stressful at times, of course, but it's one of those things where, you do a project one year and typically you're going to get repeat business, because if you do a good job, obviously they're going to stick with you, and the type of product, the type of service and solutions that you offer, that's really where you make the lifelong relationships.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's interesting because I love, I think about people, on my staff who started out as my student workers and went into full time and then running and becoming great people in the industry. And that is kind of cool how we have a vertical that kind of builds, that invests in itself, right? Invests in its own future. And which, of course, it's got to be great for you as salespeople, right? To know, hey, I gotta. They're not going to keep hiring people out every other day, right?
That's right. Train them while they're young, and they'll be, a customer forever type of thing.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? That's got to be great. That's going to be great. So when we kind of go now, and I want to talk, obviously HETMA being the first and only end user group to put a booth at a show floor at Infocom. We're excited about this year's booth, a double decker, and we're going to have some fun things, and our happy hours and our education summit and Higher Ed AV awards and all those things, which everyone can go and check out online. It is now posting as of, let's see, you're hearing this on a Tuesday, posted yesterday. By the time you've heard this, April 1st.
Yes. April Fools, and it's not a joke.
Not an April Fool.
It's not a joke.
Actually, for reals. For reals. Jimmy Kimmy. I know. We're holding it at a comedy club, and I'm releasing the info on April 1st, but it's not a joke.
I'm excited about that. I saw that. I think it's already posted on hetma.org.
Yeah, we've
Not
posted that
signed
it
up.
exists, but we don't have all the ticket stuff and putting in the submitting for awards and all that stuff. We're doing it for the month of April. Learned that from last year. Did it for like 3 months, and then I realized that everyone just puts everything in the last week. So you know what? Just make it a week long, right? No, no,
I am working on my routine for that night, Joe. Just so you know, I've got some things that
a
I'll bring
routine.
in my bag of goodies.
A routine. Oh, are we doing a full Vegas show?
Good. I'm not. I just want to say that it's a work in progress, and I will keep you posted on how things come about.
All right. The HETMA booth theme this year is Viva Las HETMA.
I love it. I love
So,
that.
all right. So going to that and then going to this, like, what, I just want general thoughts. This is almost like a stream of consciousness, like the random things that we've done. First thoughts as a manufacturer, seeing an end user go big time in a major booth. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I think it's amazing. Panasonic knows who HETMA is. There's no question. So when we were talking about our plans for Infocom last year, they're like, yeah, HETMA's going to have a booth this year. They're like, that's amazing. So everyone is so excited for you guys. And my favorite was when we hosted the one happy hour, and we had some of our executives from Japan, who many of them, they were like, this is incredible. What a fantastic, I had to kind of explain the fraternity party concept to them. They kind of understood it loosely, but it was just so amazing. It's so energetic. You've got, the DJ music happening and just so many great things. I think that's one of the best things that really keeps the industry and HETMA exciting and alive, and just, people want to be involved because it is so much fun. And I can't wait to see what happens in this year for Infocom.
Yeah. We're gonna have fun, double decker in it. But also, you know what, you guys, I gotta tell you, out of our sponsor, because you guys, you've always been a huge support, and we love it, and we're thankful and sponsoring the happy hours. And boy, your team, you came in scanning those badges right up near the bar. Like, I'm like, they know what they're doing.
We're
like,
professionals. We are professional scanners, and we also have fun doing it too. It's not like and anytime you're serving alcohol while you're scanning, I think they were, extra incentivized to do well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I was good. We were looking at that going, okay, we got something to learn from them. All right.
we are for hire. We do part-time work, if you need something during the show.
Hire booth staff, right?
Exactly.
We were so impressed with that. So, and then I love it. And I'm more excited about this year and continued working together. Moving to another thing. We're the first higher ed organization to have a true scholarship program in our PRISM scholarship, that offers 10 scholarships every year to women and underrepresented demographics in the higher ed who work in higher ed in the AV industry, to get them CTS training, mentorship, trip to Infocom to experience it all. So talk about that. Just thoughts as a manufacturer with that kind of type of investment.
I think it's absolutely perfect and in line with one of our corporate initiatives of diversity and inclusion. So, when we talk about these are all the things, this is why we want to partner with HETMA from, SAVE and sustainability. So you guys check the box on, diversity and inclusion, sustainability. These are all corporate business initiatives that we have. And I think it's important for all of us to be a good partner, on earth and all these other wonderful things. But what you're doing as an organization, there's nobody at Panasonic that says, well, we're not sure what we're going to do. It's you're hitting all the right spots because it's important for our industry. And just getting, like I said earlier, getting younger individuals exposed to the AV market, because you and I may not be doing this forever, maybe. But, just getting younger blood, new personnel, diversity in the AV business, I think, is a very important initiative, and I think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. And it is so important to us. And again, it's one of the cool things about the organization, HETMA, is it turned into, and we've talked about this over the last 3 episodes, what it turned into is not what BC and I thought, right? As soon as when, our biggest expenses were no longer bar tabs, we're like, okay, this is actually something going on now.
This is something here.
I know. It turned into something. And it all came out of the needs from our members and just saying, hey, you've got a need. People joke like, be careful what you speak up about in a meeting, because if you say, what if we do something like this? My response is, thank you for volunteering to be the chair for that committee. Good.
Exactly.
We've got it. We've got resources. We've got numbers. We can throw that behind you and throw the power of this large organization behind that idea. And that's how so many of our things happen. That's why you look at, that's how HETMA acquired Higher Ed AV. I mean, yes, technically I was part of both, but it was like, hey, we need a public voice. All right, let's go acquire it. Let's start that. Looking at our new acquisition of FlexSpace, how can we invest in our our design teams and how we can focus on the process? Well, there's a tool out there. Let's go and see about building a partnership that turns into an acquisition, right? It's like the only other organization, 5 years, we've acquired 2 companies. I mean, that's crazy. You know, whoever would have thought we'd have gotten into the mergers and acquisitions business as well. But
it just kind of shows you how far-reaching higher education can be, because you're touching, even post-pandemic, even pre-pandemic, it was like you're touching all these different elements within a campus, within a community. And so like, you guys are firing on all cylinders, not to mention, the way you've grown your chair, your boards. You've got a lot of people who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So there's a lot of things that are happening, which are all positive, which is wonderful to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so I want to ask you a question about the upcoming leadership in a second. But before I forget, we talked about the Prism Scholarship and stuff, and a little behind the scenes. This is for all of our other corporate partners and possible sponsors who may be listening to the show. A little fun fact: we have different sponsorship levels. Did you know that out of every sponsorship level, we take 10% and we earmark it to the Prism Scholarship. We take 10% near market toward Higher Ed AV, and we take 10% near market toward FlexSpace. And then the rest is our operating budget and all of that. So when we say we have these initiatives that we believe in, we truly believe them. So when something comes in, we get a sponsor, we automatically earmark it so that those key initiatives can always be funded. And then we also take a bit, and we make sure that our approved program and all of that stuff goes through. And which is what I want to now get to. So I got to cover approved, but then I also want to, but let's talk about, since we were on it, change of leadership. After Infocom, I'm riding off into the sunset, which I won't really, because I still
just take a step back a little bit, let others get a seat at the table.
So what is your advice? Is Aaron from Johns Hopkins and Ryan from Yavapai College step in? What's your advice for them?
I think they're grabbing a lion by the tail, because that rock is already rolling down the hill. Things are happening. So put your seatbelt on. But I think you've laid a great groundwork for them. They've been very involved, and obviously that's one of the reasons why they're taking on those leadership roles. I think right now is to keep the momentum going is not going to be a challenge, but I think will be one of the things to obviously continue to focus on. And then what other wonderful things can we bring to the table to improve, HETMA and the higher education market, because it's one of those things where it's important for everybody to grow this market and grow the AV business. So I think the other advice is just keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they're very active. We were at the HETMA Road Show at University of Arizona. I know Aaron had a road show, so they kind of know the nuts and bolts of it. They know the business really well. They're very active. They're very social. So I think they're definitely going to go and continue to grow the momentum of HETMA, and then continue to do even more wonderful things as well.
Yep. And I absolutely agree that I think they are going to. They're going to do amazing things. I'm really excited about what the possibilities are. I'm putting here, someone is in our watching live. So you have to go back to the community. I know we have one viewer live.
Hello.
And I know, and I don't know who it is, because I put the watch link in the back end community, not the stream link. So there's a new link. If you click the link, see, I haven't used the.
This is a great application. Yeah, we were talking about this before. We love this StreamYard. It's very cool. A lot of power in there.
So there you go. If you want to jump in the conversation, whoever you are, I just put it back in the back end community on the same thing that I had before, and there you go. So that being said, all right. So now, Now let's get all right. So we've talked about the initiative. We talked about how we do that. We talked about approved program. You were one of the very first to say we love the approved program. Let's go. We're going to throw some things in there. Talk about that. Talk about the importance of a program. And so people who don't know the approved program, what it is manufacturer can send us product. We actually install it. Now, it doesn't just sit in someone's office. We install it. We kick the tires on it. It's not a, is it good or bad value judgment. It's a, does it do what the manufacturer says it does, so that we can trust it to know, hey, if I'm looking for an XYZ thing, I have a stamp of approval from that my colleagues have actually then used it and take, and trust it, and then you get the little approved stamp. So talk a little bit about that, and why is a manufacturer a program like that important?
Yeah, I think it's great because it gives us greater visibility. And anybody, I don't want to say street credibility, but just reaffirmation of the fact that, okay, like our first product was our one of our projectors, the PT FRZ 60 series. So great classroom projector. You guys, I think we sent 4 or 5 units for the team to evaluate. Then we followed up with our Pro Audio product, which is HETMA approved, as well as some PTZ cameras. So it's great from a marketing perspective. We put the little HETMA approved at Infocom and different shows that we do in some of our collateral. So it's kind of just reaffirming the fact that, it is a valid product for those applications in higher education. And I think as we continue to grow the offering that we have that is HETMA approved, then you're like, well, I can build an entire classroom out of all the things that Panasonic has. So I think it's a great program, especially for companies that might not be as well known maybe as a Panasonic. If you're an up and coming company with a brand new product or a new type of device that would go into a classroom or auditorium, it gives you then it can give you more street credibility, and just the fact that, hey, we've kicked the tires, it works, it does what it says it will do. And I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of manufacturers to take advantage of.
Yeah. What was funny is I because I didn't ask them for permission to say who they are. They probably wouldn't care because it's a good story. But I remember one of our exactly like that manufacturer that was trying to kind of, I won't say break into, a known manufacturer is kind of getting into the higher ed vertical, really expand into that, right? And put things through the approved program. And it, as soon as it came out, got an order for like 300 of them. Like it was for the product. And it was like, whoa, where did that come? Like, okay, this already paid. The sponsorship already paid for itself many times over,
Exactly.
right? And it was like, but that is the whole thing is, and I've talked about, because we do things in scale, right? And if if I just need a 1 or 2 of something, does it really matter what brand or whatever? I mean, yes, I want something to trust. I needed to know that it's going to last and it's got, support and all that. Yes, but the fact is there are a lot of manufacturers that if you're doing a onesie, it works fine. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing 200 of something, when I'm standing across an enterprise, that's when I can't go back to my boss in 6 months and tell them that I made the wrong decision.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. And that's where, being able to have something like an approved program, and then you partner approved program with well-known manufacturers, then you've really got something. Yes. But now it's saying, hey, I've got this. Here's the data that I can now go back to my leadership and say, look, XYZ University did this and puts their stamp. So-and-so, university did this. The HETMA, the organization, the official advocacy organization for the vertical, says this is good. We can trust it. We know it's a manufacturer, because also what people don't realize, not just the product itself. Part of getting approved also means you have to have a certain warranty over a certain lifetime of it. The support has to be there. You have to be able to have a rep that is part that we can connect our members through. So there's actually a whole other part that people don't realize to get approved. It's not just about sending gear in. So it's kind of that holistic approach to it, because we know, especially, kind of full circle to our conversation about smaller schools, they really can't mess up, right? I mean, no one can at scale, right? None of us want to go. But the fact is, there are some where, you probably hear this all the time. It's once in every few years they even get a budget line item to change something. You got one shot, one opportunity.
Like
right?
5 years from now, it's like this has to work. And so having that HETMA approved program, they can, buy with confidence. We'll come in, we'll do demos, we'll show them why, Panasonic is better. But having a third party entity, verify the fact that, oh yeah, there's, oh, by the way, higher education Panasonic projectors, you get a 5-year warranty when you register, and you get, all these wonderful other benefits. There's a person that you can call who's local to your market if you have any challenges or things like that. So I think that, yeah, the program has been a huge success. When I first talked about it to our marketing team, to our product management team, they said, yes, let's do it. How quickly can we get product into these guys? And it was, working with the committee was great. I know it was a few years ago, but basically having that group, and now you're changing too. That's a nice thing too, that you've got a lot more people. Because I know when it first was rolled out, you maybe had 5 or 6 people that were inundated with products. So that's a lot of pressure. But now that there's more people, and the process rolls very smoothly, it's really an enjoyable process. And we're happy to send you some new product here very soon in 2024.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Keep it rolling, keep it rolling.
Absolutely.
But this is important, right? And I think this is, and just so you know, other manufacturers that are listening out there, we do sign NDAs. So if you want to get stuff through so that it's already got the approved stamp when you're releasing it at Infocom or ISE or NAB, we can do that too. So it helps us, right, to know, hey, it's a win-win-win. So as we kind of start to kind of wind down a little bit, I want to kind of just open up the floor to you. What kind of impact have you seen from an organization like HETMA and others?
It's been, I can't say enough about it. I think most of your vendor partners are doing very similar things about talking about the organization. We go into a lot of institutions that may not have been exposed to HETMA and all the assets and value that it brings. So we're talking about it all the time. Personally and professionally, it's just been a great organization, from all the different chair members and board members, just meeting, going through all the virtual conferences. We meet new people all the time, then meeting them in person, is a great thing. So I just think it's been a great personal and professional opportunity for me to grow as an individual, feel good about giving back, to this important vertical that I've loved for so many years. And, without you guys, I don't think we would be as far along in the mere 5 years as we would have been. I think we'd be just kind of crawling out, pun intended, out of the pandemic. You guys helped a lot of people get through a difficult time, and now we're way out of it. And so now looking at the horizon and looking at the future. So this organization's helped a lot of people, and it's great to see how we've, brought in, made it more international. It's certainly welcoming to all kinds of individuals, people who are not even fully in the AV industry yet, but maybe, like you said, a student worker, and just trying to figure out, is this something for me? And so having that impact on this vertical and this community is a wonderful thing.
Oh, see, that's awesome to hear. And it is. I can tell you, I am just honestly floored about the impact that this has had on members and on the industry. Just to be honest, I know, like, we like going for big things, but BC and I never had this, and like, we would have never guessed. We couldn't have. And that's one thing I love about, like, the fluidity of allowing the organization to become what it is. But I say this I think that this is poetic that you're the one on the partners, show. Though I scared somebody else off. I put the link, I did that, and I scared them off. But it's all right. But because it really shows the full circle, right? That what you started, what you invited BC and I and the rest of the group out to, then really, to now have you here and go, wow, look at what has happened. Look at how the industry has changed. Look at how this has grown into something. It is very poetic, and I'm going to start to cry. No, but it's crazy. And to be honest, though, it takes partnerships. I'm not here on this episode to sell sponsorships. Actually, I lie. I am.
But I'll take a few. Call me.
You know what? I'm not the only. You're not the only sales guy on the call, Darryl.
ABC always be closing.
Exactly. But the fact is, it takes our partnerships to be successful. It really has. The higher ed industry aren't just end users; we are partners, and we love to throw that word around. But it absolutely is true. The partnerships that we take, that are built together are what has made the organization strong. Partnerships like yourself and all of our incredible partners that we have and our sponsors from every event and all levels are what have allowed us to do this organization, right? I mean, one of the things that I think is the differentiator, and so people may or may not know this, between other organizations and HETMA is that it's for higher ed members, it's always free. That was one of the things that we set up. But the fact is, we can't do all these things without sponsors, right? I mean, there's a flip side of that. It's great for our members, especially for smaller schools that don't have the budget, or schools that won't send their people to Infocom, or won't buy an Avixa membership or send them to other regionals. And this gives an opportunity to have reach across a wider scale at no cost to them. But the fact is, it takes great partners like you, because we can't provide those things. We can't have a booth in Infocom and be that voice for them without it. So to that, I say thank you very much to you, and Panasonic and all of, I mean, obviously all of ours. I'm going to say specifically to you. And also, I just want to say on a personal note, thank you for your friendship and your care. We were in a lot of early phone conversations, all the way back from right after the first HETMA virtual conference, to where you have always said, I believe in what you're doing, and you have shown it and been there. And so I know personally this organization wouldn't be what it is without you believing in it as well and being able to kind of and advocate for us. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. I still have pictures from the first virtual conference queued up if you want me to show those.
Do you have it? Go throw it out. Throw it up. Throw it out. I'm assuming you're able to present.
All right, let me see. Can I do this correctly? I hope I can.
There is a present button. I've never tried it.
I think I'm going to try. Let's see. Entire screen. All right, let's do this. And let's do this way. And here we go.
Oh,
can you see that?
Stage. All right, adding to there. Oh, yeah. Boy, look at that.
So you got Donovan, you got Scott, you got Mr. Peterson.
Wow.
And all my notes. I took lots of notes, more. And this was like the first session.
In the esports.
It was the first one from 2019, right? December 2019.
December 2019.
So then we had all the vendor relations. So good stuff. There we go. There's more. Woo! That's not all.
All right, Craig's
here and Eric Johnson. So yeah, I thought you might get a little kick out of that.
Wow, that is fantastic. Wow. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Oh, that was great.
It's like keeping a Christmas card or a holiday card. Some of those things you just don't want to give away because 5 years from now, we'll have this, but I knew this might be good stuff to have in future years. But I look forward to the next 5, if not 50 years, Joe.
Yeah,
keep killing it, and I know it's always going to be a great time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Those are good closing remarks. Last thing, please tell people how they can connect with you and learn more about Panasonic Connect.
Absolutely. You can go to na.panasonic.com to learn all about the wonderful things that Panasonic does. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Darryl Krall, easily found. I'm on the Twitter land as well, but mostly LinkedIn. And this has been a wonderful session as always, Joe. Can't wait to see you soon in person.
Oh, indeed. I can't wait. We're not too far away, probably Infocom next, but got a few things in between, but I'm so excited. I'm going to be out in Scomes for people who are going to be out in at University of Birmingham in May, or June. Oh, no, actually that's after Infocom. It's right after Infocom. I forgot about that. So
another busy year for Joe Way.
I know, but hey, it's being held at my alma mater. So
that's very cool. That's very cool.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. As always, all the opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of any respected institutions, sponsors, corporations, anything along those lines, except Panasonic. I guarantee you they'll stand behind what Darryl says. So with all that, everyone, please follow. You can follow me at Josiah Way on all the socials, at Higher Ed AV on all the socials, and HETMA_org on all of the socials. And if you did not like any of these opinions, there may be better ones next time.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.